Welcome to another episode of the question and answers for the US stocks. So in this video, I will be going over some of the questions and also analyze charts from my Telegram group members. And if you haven't joined my Telegram group, feel free to join in the link below and it's free. So let's get started now. So the first questions come from Yinghui. Hi Ming Jong, checking on Palantir chart. High volume but small doji-like candle in blue. Was it indicator of hidden supply? Secondly, the yellow area has demand return and safe to enter at around 23. Okay, so let's have a look at your chart. So I believe you are referring to this spike of the volume on this bar. So whether this is a hidden supply and also the yellow area here, demand return. Okay. Well, there's certainly increasing of the supply. There's a spike of the supply where you can see that the upside was kept. So there's a shortening of the upward thrust, but it did not really immediately reflect afterwards because the next bar we still see an up bar. It's a green bar and you still keep grinding up until you hit the intermediate resistance level where you have a resistance line there, and subsequently there's a reaction. So yeah, overall you are right. So I will view this as a increasing of the supply because it actually kept the upside movement, but it did not really immediately reflect afterwards. So the reaction comes probably a day later. So the other part of your question is regarding to this bar here. So whether there is demand come in on this bar, there's an increase of the volume for sure, because I think this is the break below of this localized support level. And if you take a look at the previous grinding up area, so this is like a way of the supply absorption on the way up. So keep grinding up and down, up and down, up and down, and then acceleration up followed by a reaction down. So this is certainly a breakdown bar. So at the moment, I think we still need to pay attention to the big picture. Let me zoom in with my chart here. So let's take a look at Palantir. So okay, so this is Palantir, and you can see it here. This is overall structure. So we have a very speculative run up going into a buying climax, subsequently an automatic reaction that define the trading range. So this is essentially the trading range, and within the trading range itself, I see this uptrust followed by maybe another trading range itself. So right after the uptrust, there is a reaction down, tested the previous support level. Subsequently, you can see it just kind of developed its own trading range. But overall, it's still within the very big structure of this trading range itself. So right now, I think that if you are really a short-term swing trader, you should probably pay attention to this little trading range that's developed out from this downtrend structure. So probably maybe a spring. This is a spring followed by, doesn't really look like a sign of strength rally based on the momentum or the price spread, but certainly there is a resistance level right there and there's a reaction down. So I will just probably look at the very obvious support level that is somewhere around, let me see, that is around 21. So 21 is a very obvious support level. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that the price must go down to Tesla 21. So it can just reverse from here, because if you look at the supply level, despite that it's having a very significant reaction all the way from about 28 to 22, the supply wasn't that high. So you can see that compared to the previous supply level like this, so we probably can just view these two as the spike of the supply. So apart from that, it's pretty much low supply. However, for the reversal, I definitely want to see some form of the commitment above the, let me see, the level is around somewhere around 24.3 or 24.5. So I want to see some form of the commitment above in order to determine it can just reverse from here and have another swing up to test the swing high level, or even break out to test higher targets. So overall, this is still a bullish structure. I like the structure, but certainly I don't really see any edge to trade right in the middle of the trading range between 28 to 21. Okay, so hopefully I answer your question. So next question that's related, that's the next Malaysia stocks. Okay, okay. Next question comes from Osh Futu. So there's a comment from Paris Wong Kim Kat. TIGR also similar pattern. Another Chinese stock that was bashed down. Baidu was hit even harder. Yep, I certainly agree. So let's take a look at Futu, TIGR, and also Baidu, because that's related to the recent sharp sell-off of the Chinese stock. So let me just grab the chart. So the first one, Futu. So Futu is similar to TIGR. It's an online broker, discounted broker from China that offer trading of US stocks as well. So you can see that this is a overall structure, a very speculative run up that comes with a climatic volume and also climatic price action. So there's a ton of the selling on the way up and subsequently sort of just collapse, and with a lot of the supply as well. So there's a lot of the selling involved. Fortunately, I think this is more encouraging for the bull. The selling actually just sort of stopped halfway of this up move. So you can see that it's sort of forming the trading range here from about 100 to 180. So that's a trading range that we are looking at. And in terms of the price structure, I would say that definitely to me is still relatively bullish, mainly due to the decreasing of the supply level. So, and also you can look at the volatility as well. So this portion right here, there's not much supply involved, and although I wouldn't say there's a very dynamic rally up, um, we do have a probably a bit of the uptrust coming, followed by a break below. So that comes with an increasing of the supply level. So here is the reaction out from this uptrust. So right now is probably testing the intermediate support level. So you can see that this is the axis line. Previously, there is a lot of the interaction where the support becomes resistant, resistant becomes support, chopping up and down, up and down. So this is an intermediate support level at about 139 or 140. So sort of have a spring, a temporary commitment below, followed by a recovery up. So we just need to see if this level can hold. So if it can, then certainly I think there is a chance for it to travel up and to challenge the swing high level again. And if not, then definitely probably will just try and test the swing low again at about 100. So so far, based on the supply level, I don't really see a ton of the threatening supply like this, or even like this. So overall, I think I still bullish on Futu. So definitely this is the first level you need to hold about 140. So if you can sort of overcome the, let me see the level, about 150 or 152, then I think there is certainly a chance for a swing up. So it's probably to, if we can, I think that could be a bullish case. Otherwise, what we can see is probably the inability to rally up and followed by another breakdown. And then you would just go to test the lower target. All right, so this is Futu. Let me see TIGR. So TIGR Brokers is probably I think show a bit of the more weakness than Futu. So both stocks have a very speculative run up previously. So this is a very impressive and speculative run up. You can see that it's all the way from about 5 to close to 40, 38. So that's the top. So again, this sort of the parabolic run up just cannot sustain, and this is the collapse of the run up. And eventually, that is the selling climax, automatic rally that define the trading range. So overall, this is the sort of like the bottom. We can see that supply has been decreasing. So this is the decreasing of the supply, sort of like forming a LPS. And this is a sign of strength rally, breaking out above the resistance level and forming a backup action. But this backup action actually failed. So you can see there is a gap down action, failure, and also more downside. So it's sort of testing the middle range, like the middle line or the intermediate resistance level at about 20 or 21. So this is definitely a first level of the support. But in terms of the sign of strength rally, I think that it sort of just failed because it just couldn't commit above while it's forming the trading range with the decreasing of the supply. That's certainly related to the recent Chinese stock sell-off. So in terms of the bigger structure, I think that it's probably will still fluctuating between this big structure from 15 to about 25 or even 30. So I just want to see for the bullish case if it can just have a very strong rally up, recovery, and stay above 22 or 23, then I think there's certainly a chance to fluctuating within the backup action trading range. So this is critical. The support level or the now the become the resistance level is about 22.5 or zero point 0.4. So you just need to overcome this level. So for the bullish case, definitely want to see some form of the bullish pattern, the bullish breakout above, and then I think it could just stay within this trading range at the moment because the reaction is still unfolding. Look at the supply. Is a ton of the supply, and supply is very high, and I think it probably need to test again. So look for some form of the uh, supply absorption process, while we can probably expect some form of the supply going down if it is indeed bullish. Otherwise, it will just probably drift down and test the very obvious support level at about 15 or 16. Okay, so if you can just climb above and commit above about 22.5 or 23, then certainly I think it can just go up to test 30 again. All right, so this is TIGR. And let's take a look at Baidu. I think Baidu is one of the weaker stocks, similar to Baba and other e-commerce stock. So it has been going down for at least, I think, since February this year until now. It's on a very, um, it's just a very weak stock. So there is a very speculative run up followed by a collapse. So that's probably the pattern that you can see from Tiger and also Futu. So usually this sort of the parabolic run up is just could not really sustain itself. But I think there is a one volume bar that skew the volume. Let me just scroll this. Okay, so we probably can tell there's a selling right here. So this is the first selling happen while it's going on the way up, and essentially just stopping this from advancing further up. And there is certainly some more selling above. So you can see there's a spike of the volume, there's a selling and a selling on the way down. And after that, there's a break below, and here comes another wave of the selling. So these are all the selling on the way up, and also collapse from the parabolic structure. So subsequently, after the collapse of the structure, we can see that there is a inability to rally up. So look at the rally. So the rally is very weak, just failed to overcome the axis line where the previous support now become the resistance level. So right after that, sort of have tested the axis line and going down and have this capitulation. So look at this ton of the supply. So that's the selling climax. So automatic rally, and it's sort of just hanging around and forming this structure. But look at the rally. So the rally is generally very weak. So apart from the automatic rally, subsequent rally is still very weak, and this is sort of another upthrust. So right after the upthrust, it just fell and now it's just collapsed and probably try to break down. So overall, Baidu is bearish, and I think that certainly it's not the right time to buy for another upswing. Okay, so that's Baidu, right? So, okay, next question comes from Dave. So, hi MJ, another stock I'm using price action, but this one I decided to try trading between the support and resistance within the accumulation range. So, here are the questions. First, for a counter that is pegged to oil price, is the price volume indicator of supply and demand accurate? Yep, I can tell you for sure. Certainly, we can rely on the volume when we're trading of a liquid stock. So no matter is very closely related to the oil price movement or not. So certainly, price volume indicator of supply and demand is still working very well. Second question, can you clarify my understand of the two support range I identify in this range? Is there two zones of support or just one big one? Okay, so let's have a look at your chart. So this is XOM, so Exxon Mobil. We definitely can see I think you have four lines here. So this is the first, second, third, and fourth. Well, I wouldn't say it wrong, but maybe let me use a clean chart and illustrate the support and resistance picture. So that's XOM, Exxon Mobil. Okay, so this is Exxon Mobil, and you can see that's the long-term structure. So there's a COVID, I guess. Yep, COVID sell-off, followed by another test. Subsequently, you can see that the uptrend actually started here. We definitely see some overbought, so that's the channel overbought. A bit of the climatic run-up, followed by increasing of the volume. So this is what we can expect a reaction. So here comes a reaction, and on a bigger picture, there's uptrend. That's the range that I'm looking at. So it's somewhere around 53 to about 62. So right after that, for the smaller structure, you can tell that there is another range, and then this attempt to break out, and subsequently, it's just sort of forming another range. So these are the two range that I'm looking at. Because it is still evolving for the structure, what we want to do is probably looking at the structure at a different trading range. So you can even look at it at the three trading range. So for example, you can tell that probably that looks like a sign of strength rally or the minor sign of strength rally, followed by a flat type of the pattern, and then another breakout, and there's a structure alone. So this is a structure, this is another structure, but overall you can see that it still fall under the big structure. So this is the big structure. Okay, So overall, the big structure is still between like 52 to 65, and in between there are quite a few trading range on its own, like this or even this. So yeah, just need to get used to the own structure while it's developing its own trading range. So overall, I think it's still looking bullish. So if I really want to draw this, I'll probably simplify this as maybe just another trading range itself. So at the moment, it's sort of attempt to spring the previous swing low and followed by a recovery. Probably you can just go back up and test the swing high level. Okay, so XOM certainly is a bullish structure. All right, so next stock is PayPal. I think it's also come from Dave. Okay, so this is good call on PayPal. Yes, I think we looked at PayPal last week. While you're asking, I think if I remember correctly, you're selling at about 290. Yeah, you sold it at 290 plus. And last week I also mentioned that it looks bullish to me. So let's have a look at your question. Now my question is with the 4 green bar supply. 4 green bar supply, I guess you're referring to the volume, 4 green volume here. Flat holding the price up. Will PayPal do a backup or it's scaling up around day 5 if the Nasdaq continues? Okay, let's take a look at the chart here. So this is PayPal, and your question is whether it will do a backup after this volume, whether it will just go up or have a backup action. Well, let's have a look at a chart. So let me use the cleaner chart here, PayPal. So let me see. I guess last Sunday video I also mentioned that I probably expect a test of the swing high level. I think which is also the all-time high level at about 310. So 310. So at the moment you are referring to this little shallow type of the trading range. So this is the very shallow type of the trading range right after breaking out of this structure. So here's the structure. So we do see that supply is going down, and even with this sort of the localized increase of the supply, the down result is very limited and it's from a higher low, which is also bullish, and we can expect another rally up. So although the rally is not very dynamic, but at least this portion that breaking out of the resistance level is looking a bit more strength, and followed by this very shallow type of the backup action. So right now, I guess that is still probably going to trend higher if the overall market sentiment is good, like the Nasdaq is pushing higher. Um, because what you can see here, there's a localized increase of the supply, despite that overall supply is still, I would say, it's not very high. It's probably slightly higher and certainly not like this. So supply is generally on the normal side, and on the last probably 3 4 trading days, you can see that the market is selling down. But look at what PayPal behave. So this is how PayPal behave. Is still holding within the trading range, and we have seeing this demand tails suggesting there are some demand come in. So looks like to me that it's going to push higher and probably will at least to test 310, the previous swing high level, before it had a meaningful reaction. So this is probably something that I will expect, maybe a uptrust attempt to break out followed by a reaction down and then sort of just forming its way and then have another breakout. So anyway, PayPal is still looking very bullish. So yeah, I guess that's my answer to you for PayPal. All right, so that's all the questions. Thanks for watching. And if you like to have your questions answered or get your charts have an alternative view, feel free to join my Telegram group below. So just click the link below and it's free. Thanks for watching. I will see you next week.